Hello, 10th grade students. This video is being created as an accommodation for students who need things read aloud to them. However, any student who would like to use this video to help them with this document are more than welcome to do so. This is 8 times commas were important. Commas are arguably the most important grammatical tool the English language has to offer. They splice a sentence, providing cohesion and unity. Commas also allow the reader to understand the proper connotation of a writer's words. That's a lot of heavy lifting for a little scoop-shaped squiggle, isn't it? Consider 8 situations that illustrate the importance of commas. Number 1, wrapping around clauses. One of the most welcomed attributes of a comma is its ability to wrap its arms around a clause. Anytime a sentence veers off into a single tangent, wrap a comma around that veered off thought. This indicates a pause at that moment. For example, I'd like to make it clear that, comma, while I understand your concern, comma, you are abjectly wrong and I am no longer listening to you. How can you tell if a clause that needs a little comma action? Simply take the side tangent out of the sentence. If it's still a complete sentence without the veered off thought, then insert the comma around the clause. So for example, if I am going to delete this extra phrase here, if the thought makes sense, then I need commas. I'd like to make it clear that you are abjectly wrong and I am no longer listening to you. Yes, that makes sense. So I need my commas. Number 2, making the introductions. Introductory phrases are a nice way to add depth and variety to your writing. In a way, they allow you to say just a little bit more in one complete sentence. For example, while I understand your concern, comma, you're objectively wrong and I am no longer listening to you. Or, being a recluse, comma, Dawn stayed home most days. Always use a comma to introduce the preamble to a sentence. Introductory phrases can also be spotted a mile away if they contain gerunds. Gerund being like the word being, for example. Okay, so words like while, words like being are clues to you that you're going to need a comma. Number 3, announcing fanboys. This mnemonic device, fanboys, F for, A for and, N for nor, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, and S for so, is surely a fan favorite. It alludes to coordinating conjunctions or connectors that typically need a comma placed before them. So, a fanboy example, a comma is needed when a fanboy word is used to separate two independent clauses to form a compound sentence. So she loves to walk on the beach, comma, so she tries to visit it every morning. We have two completely complete clauses on either side. She loves to walk on the beach on one side, and she tries to visit it every morning on the other side. And so those are our two independent clauses separated by a comma and so. A comma works here because it separates those two independent clauses, two subjects and two verbs that make up two complete thoughts, the second of which begins with a coordinating conjunction. So some fanboys exceptions. Be aware though that fanboys words don't always require a comma. Just because you see the word doesn't mean you use the comma, right? They need to be two separate independent clauses with that fanboys word. So no comma is needed when a coordinating conjunction connects an independent clause to a dependent clause. So remember, those dependent clauses are clauses that need something to grab onto. So for example, she loves the beach and visits it daily. She loves the beach is a complete independent clause. However, visits it daily is not. It has no subject. So even though we're using a fanboy's word, there is no comma. Okay, here there is no need for a comma because the sentence doesn't have two independent clauses. The second clause does not contain a subject. It could not stand on its own as a sentence, so it's a dependent clause. All right, number 4, inside or outside of the quotation marks? Question mark. When it comes to incorporating quotations in your text, there's often confusion about just where that pesky little comma should go. There are 2 points to remember about commas and quotations. First of all is introducing a quotation. A comma is the most commonly used punctuation mark to introduce a quotation, and in this case does not go inside the quotation marks. So these are normal, typical, regular old examples. Hey, she said, I love to punctuate with perfection. He said, I do too. Okay, in both cases, the comma appears directly after said, and it's outside of those quotation marks. So it's like comma space, quotation mark. Okay, the other example is when you are ending a quotation. So commas as well as periods at the end of the quote do go within the quotation marks, even if they're not part of the original quote. I love her commitment to correct punctuation, comma, quotations, he said to his brother. Notice how even if the sentence is continuing, the punctuation gets placed within the quotation marks. These 2 tidy tips will keep you ahead of the pack when it comes to determining if punctuation goes inside quotation marks or not. All right, 2 more to go. Number 5, enter in the Oxford comma. Love the Oxford comma. When listing things, many people don't use the Oxford comma, which means that they don't place a comma before the last and in a list or series. While it's not technically wrong, it can cause confusion. Would you rather be not wrong or oh so right? Also called the serial comma, the easiest way to describe the Oxford comma is with an illustration. So, no Oxford comma. When you go out, comma, please bring me some ice cream, comma, licorice, comma, Windex and applesauce. So with the Oxford comma, when you go out, please bring me ice cream, comma, licorice, comma, Windex, comma, and applesauce. In the first sentence, this person seems to be asking for Windex and applesauce together. Who likes Windex and their applesauce? In the second sentence, which uses the Oxford comma, the person is saying they'd like each of those separate and distinct items. Number 6, the dreaded comma splice. Have you ever seen the face a baby makes when tasting lemons for the first time? An improper comma splice has the same effect. If you don't see any fanboys between 2 independent clauses, 2 separate thoughts, you should never see a comma. Without the presence of fanboys, commas just don't belong. So, incorrect. My friend loves video games, comma. I gave him Zelda. Ugh. Next. That's a lovely shade of lipstick, comma. It's so your color. In the incorrect examples above, a comma separates or splices the 2 complete sentences, creating run-on sentences. These commas should be replaced with a period or a semicolon. A comma would have worked in these examples if a coordinating conjunction was placed after the comma. So correct ways to do this. My friend loves video games, comma, so I gave him Zelda. Another way, the second sentence, that's a lovely shade of pink, comma, and it's so your color. All right, 7. Now we have 2 left. I don't know what I was thinking. Deciding between a comma or a semicolon. So looking back at one of the opening examples, it's time to welcome the semicolon into the punctuation party. It is, after all, kin to the comma. I love semicolons. I used to get in trouble for overusing semicolons in high school, but I finally understand how to use them. Semicolons should only be used to break apart 2 complete sentences, whereas commas should only be used to introduce clauses. So, incorrect semicolon usage. A common error involves using a semicolon between independent and dependent clauses. I love your gardens, comma, in all their wonder, or semicolon, in all their wonder. No, no, no. These are 2 connected thoughts, but the second part after the semicolon is not a complete sentence. It's a dependent clause. Okay, there should be no punctuation there at all. Okay, it should really look like this. Okay. Correcting semicolon misuse. There are a few ways to properly punctuate these clauses, including one option that allows you to keep the semicolon. So, using a comma. I love your gardens, comma, in all their wonder. I don't agree that there should be a comma there, but whatever, it's fine. Okay. Next is a period. I love your gardens, period. They provide such wonder. use a period so you have two short, concise sentences. Or if you really want to keep that semicolon, then you have to do something to make that second part a complete sentence. So they did, I love your gardens, semicolon. They provide such wonder. So add the word they to turn the second clause into an independent one. Number 8, avoiding comma catastrophes. In Lynn Truce's entertaining and educational book, Eats, Shoots, and Leaves, the zero tolerance approach to punctuation, she illustrates the havoc one teeny tiny little comma can wreak. Long story short, a panda walks into a bar, eats a sandwich, most likely bamboo shoots and leaves, pulls out a gun and fires 2 shots in the air. The bartender asks what the heck's the matter with him. The panda simply tells him to read his sign and walks out. The sign says eats, comma, shoots and leaves. This implies one must eat, then shoot, then leave. No comma was required in that poor bartender's sign. Another popular example of the confusion that leaving out a comma can cause is the difference between cannibalism and inviting grandma to dinner. This is a favorite of mine. Incorrect. It's time to eat, grandma. Correct. It's time to eat, comma, grandma. Right? So what you're trying to do is tell grandma that it's time to eat. Okay, but if you forget the comma, then we're all eating grandma. Poor grandma. Pop in a comma and grandma gets to live another day. Ouch. Okay, just a few more thoughts. Take a deeper dive into the power of commas. Consider the grammatical ferocity of commas in the following 3 examples. Do you see anything wrong with these sentences? Let's go get a little Italian, baby. My new puppy likes to play catch. I bought him a frisbee. We believe you moved to this town for its natural beauty and surrounding area, a community neighborhood. Okay, so first of all, are you really going baby shopping? Okay, so what was intended was this first example here, or was this first picture? Let's go get a little Italian, comma, baby. Okay, not what they actually wrote, which was let's go get a little Italian baby. Okay, in the first example, what exactly is that person planning to do with an Italian baby once they get it? Were they trying to tell their loved one that they're in the mood for some Italian food? In which case, the sentence should have that comma. Just say no to comma places. In the second example, a comma is providing a pause. Good. But it's acting like a period or a semicolon. Bad. A comma should never separate 2 complete sentences. Either a period or a semicolon needs to step in between those lines. So my new puppy likes to play catch. Period. I bought him a frisbee. Or you could also do my new puppy likes to play catch. Semicolon. I bought him a frisbee. This is no place for a semicolon. In the third example, a semicolon is the wrong choice of punctuation. A semicolon should never separate 2 incomplete sentences. Semicolons are used to illustrate a pause between 2 complete sentences whose meaning is very closely linked. We believe you moved to this town for its natural beauty and surrounding area, comma, a community neighborhood. Right, the mighty comma. All in all, the power of the comma is mighty. Just because it's a little squiggle doesn't mean it shouldn't be paid a lot of attention. Studying this ruler of the grammar world will provide beneficial and long-lasting effects. Most people don't walk out of the house without a care for how they look. Think of your writing in the same manner. Who wants to put out something with glaring errors and total disregard for this important piece of punctuation? Now that you understand the power of the comma, turn your attention to mastering the correct usage of other often misused punctuation marks. Okay, just a few of my own little quick thoughts if you've made it this far. Grammar's hard, okay? Everybody has an editor. But you have to make sure that your writing is clear enough to be understood. And so you need to have a basic understanding of the grammar rules, even if you do miss it sometimes. And last but not least, you want to write with your heart, okay? And then edit with your head. Okay, so first write and get whatever feelings it is that you have out, or get all of the ideas out, and then come back at a separate time when you can and actually read through what you wrote. And if you can, read it out loud. If you can, even read it out loud to somebody else. All right, thank you for watching my TED Talk. Have a nice day.